everybody. This is Brandon, Little NC Farmer, and it's so good to see each one of you again. I know it's been a while since I have put a video up, and I apologize for that, guys. It's just been a busy time uh, with the job I'm working now. We, recently just had Mother's Day uh, the, this past week, and of course, be 2 weeks ago by the time you probably see this video. But that was a busy week for us, people coming and buying hanging baskets and other things as well, and so we were just swamped, and then a lot of other things going on too. I mean, staying with my grandmother, helping look after her, a lot of work involved in that. Guys, I apologize for these dogs. I mean, nothing against dogs, but I just don't like for dogs to bark all the time for no reason at all. That's just gets on my nerves. And we've got some around here, that's all they're good for is just barking. They're not barking at anything worth nothing, they're just barking. So anyway, but I apologize for that noise. But I do like being outside too. But I posted, last week our cherries are getting ripe. I'm just looking the cherry trees right over there. And I'm hoping that I can at least get enough to make a homemade cherry cobbler out of that. I've not had one of those in years. And guys, if you've never had one, they're delicious. This is an old-fashioned, I don't know, I just call it an old-fashioned pie cherry. That came from my wife's grandparents' place. Well, the tree actually, the tree, I dug it up over at her mom and dad's and brought it over here and transplanted it. And but my grandparents also had that same tree, or pretty much identical to that. And a lot of people around here where we live had those old cherries. They were just part of the permaculture on a homestead, and they just made some of the best pies and cobblers and cherry preserves. If you've never had those, you've never eat good preserves, I can tell you that. And but anyway, shared that with. And guys, I've not planted anything other than I've got a few tomato plants set out and some pepper plants and some beets and other, my onions, and they're doing real good. I mean, they're actually, I've got some that are actually probably tennis ball size now. And guys, I'm gonna tell you, here in central North Carolina, according to what I've been told, where we live, we are supposed to have a short day onion. These are not, they're long day. So I, I'm assuming, I don't know how much longer they're going to go. I noticed the blades are starting to turn yellow on some of them, so don't know how much longer they'll be, but they will bulb out some. But Lord willing, next year I'm going to have short day onions. So, but anyway, I've got something here. I've got a couple little pots here. Thought I'd show you, and these are my Cherokee tan pumpkins. And I got the seed from Danny and Wanda, Deep South Homestead, and just planted 4 seeds. Both of them came right up. And I've got a location, couple locations that I'm going to put these. Uh, I hope you can see that well, but thought I'd show you those. And they're, according to Mr. Danny at Deep South, North Carolina is their native land, probably primarily the mountain areas of North Carolina, but they originated with the Cherokee tribe, my understanding. He's got a lot of great information regarding the Cherokee tan pumpkin, and I'm going to use his advice on that. I grew some pumpkins last year with his same technique. I grew some in the field, y'all saw those, but I also had some, and I don't think I ever put a video on about these, but I had some along the edge of the woods, just in an old trash pile where we had a lot of leaves and debris from the yard, things like that, and it's just deteriorated over the years. And I planted them in that, and guys, they literally run everywhere. But that was another type of pumpkin. That was the pumpkins you saw me can and different things and put up. These are not like that. They're just a small pumpkin. They don't get very big, but I'm curious to see. I'm going to plant them the same way. I'm giving my father one and giving my wife's dad one. So I'm hoping that, we can, maybe I can document some on that later on. So these will be ready to set out pretty shortly. But guys, our weather here, this is the main reason that I've not done any planning. We had 2 nights this week down in the low 40s. I think it was 41 one night, 46 last night. And as I'm sitting here right now, I just checked the thermometer before I came out. It is 66 degrees. It's not bad. I mean, I could use a jacket, but I'm okay. So, anyway, that's where I'm at. And I've learned my lesson over the years. I'm not wasting my seeds till our nights warm up. I mean, the ground temperature is still cold. So, but anyway, I've learned my lesson over the years. I've got okra that I want to plant, cucumbers, squash, and I want to plant some jade bush beans. And I had a guy that sent me some greasy beans. I would love to try those. Another good thing, my dad, I gave him the seed that I had to the Cherokee wax bean, the yellow Cherokee wax bean. And guys, every seed I believe came up. He's got a super looking road down there where he's at. I was looking at them last Sunday evening. We walked down there, and they came up better than his other beans. So I don't know. I'm hoping that I can at least get some seed off of them, and plus I would love to try some too. So I've never had those before, and so just experimenting with new things. But uh, I've got some cantaloupe started here. I've got watermelon. I've got two different types. I've got one type of watermelon that I planted last year. It's a little heirloom. It's a small watermelon, and I'm hoping I can get it to come up. And I've got dill, and I've got some brandywine tomatoes and peppers. I've got those started here in cups. They're just getting started right now. I've got the hot pepper. That's what it is. I've got started over there. They're just now getting started. They're in their early stages. So that's what we've got going on there. So Lord willing, we'll have some more things to show you up the road. But when I do get in that garden, I hope it's where I can do some, videoing and have something to show you there. We're going to be harvesting garlic here pretty soon. And probably the onions too, and my English peas. They're starting to bloom, so it won't be long. We'll be doing something with those as well. So just to give you a recap, that's what we've got going on here. I've kind of had to change gears because there's just things going on, and I'm not going to go into talking about that, but I won't be at the big garden this year, and you probably won't see much in way of using the tractor. I might have something that I can show on that, but I mean, I'm still going over our bush hogging and keeping things like that. But guys, with me being at public work, things that's happened here, I've had to change my schedule pretty much. And so anyway, we just bear with it and we go on as best we can. But just looking at this season, it's almost a repeat of last year. Uh, it was, I think, the 1st of June before I really could do some major planting last year, looking back at my records and things. And the thing is, when you get stuff planted that late, I have a lot of issues with bugs, more so than when I plant it early. And I was wanting to plant potatoes this year. Y'all saw some of the videos back earlier in the late winter, early spring. I had the leaves gathered up, and I was going to do that, and things happened kind of all of a sudden, so I wasn't able to do that. So, and I wanted to show y'all how I plant sweet potatoes, how I ridge them up, because I have a homemade piece of equipment that I use on my tractor, my Ford, and I kind of do Mr. Danny's way of planting sweet potato draws. I will take those, I've got a little forked stick. It's down there in my building right now that I poke them down in the ground. That's the way my grandparents done that. And I've seen them plant cabbage that way. I've seen them, and a lot of them planted tobacco that way back in the day too. So, I just love seeing things like that. But guys, I'm gonna get on into our talk time this evening, and looking at things that's going on, current events right now, and the issue with the fuel, and not try not to elaborate, call things by name too much, but uh, looking at what's going on with that, it's kind of brought me to the thought, and I've been meditating on this today. Do you know how to do without something? And that, I don't know, I think that can kind of go in with the fact or the same phrase of the will to live. And I just wonder today. I mean, I look around. I just observe people. I observe things, what people are doing, and people just don't have any. I've said this before, and I'll say it again: gumption. I mean, everybody's sitting around waiting on somebody else to do something for them now. And I mean, this is my responsibility here. It's not somebody else's. It's not the people of the elite or the higher powers or the powers to be. This is not their responsibility. It's mine. It is my place to see that I maintain my home here, that, my boys have got a place to lay their head at night. It is my responsibility to see that it's, we have the adequate needs that we have here, whether it be electricity, water, any type of fuel that we need. Of course, I use wood to heat with, and we're not needing that right now. But, I provide that in the winter time, and, we earn a living here to pay for our electricity to come into the home and to, have the utilities that we need. That's our responsibility, guys. It's not, that burden is not on somebody else. But what happens when you come to the time and you have to make do with what you have, and you may think, well, what if I don't have electricity? How do I manage without that? And guys, it can be done. Now, long term, that would be a problem. But, I have some things, some measures that I could put in place that I could get by with. Here's the thing about it. I have, alternative sources to cook with, and I'd have to get busy doing some canning with the stuff that we've got in the freezer. That's one reason I am not too big on freezing a tremendous amount of stuff. If it's stuff in there that can be prepared and eat or canned, so be it. But there's other stuff I don't like to have a lot of because of it would perish, if I couldn't take care of it in time. And, you can dehydrate it, you can dry it, there's all kinds of things that could be done, but you have to think about that. But, it's just like the fuel situation we have right now. I mean, people don't have any idea. I saw some of the, I don't know whether it's photoshopped, I don't know. I've just seen some of the stupidest things that people have posted lately. I mean, putting gasoline in plastic bags. I mean, that's some of the most ridiculous. If anybody has any bit has done something like that, they don't even need it to start with. I mean, that's the most dangerous, idiotic, stupid thing I have seen yet. And I've seen all kinds of stupid stuff lately. But guys, this is why we, as people, I guess I consider myself as a prepper. If that's the case, I've always been one all my life. My family's pretty much been one then, I guess. But you always have something stored back. And that's something that you need. And, I'm thankful. I'm thankful this past week the Lord blessed and I've kept going. I've not had to panic buy. I've not had to do any of that. And I give God the glory for that because He made provision that I was able to meet those needs. And I thank Him for that. And so, guys, I remember my grandpa always had a saying, don't put off tomorrow what you can do today. And there's a lot of truth said behind that. And so many people are just sitting and waiting for, well, just maybe the good Lord's going to take care of me. If you've done all you can do physically, in preparing and things like that, and it falls short, then yes, there comes a time you do have to live by faith that God's going to meet the need and God will. And guys, I want to say this while I'm right here on this subject. I'm almost 50 years old, and I can say, like David in the Bible, I once was young. I'm not quoting this exactly right, I know. I once was young, now I'm old. Never have I seen the righteous forsaken, nor his seed begging bread. And guys, I can literally tell you in my almost 50 years that I can testify that that's true. And, you know, God's never let me down, folks. Man's let me down. I've had different people to let me down over the years, but God has never let me down. We've always had a place to lay our head. We've always had some sort of food to eat. I mean, I'm blessed. I am blessed, guys. I have plenty of food in the house. It's very seldom we have to go to the store. I throw this in. I went by yesterday and I was pushed. I was pushed for time and I had to do something that I haven't done. I could not tell you when the last time was. But I stopped at a restaurant to get me something to bring home because I was running late. And I didn't really have time to come home and prepare anything because once I come in here, I had to shower and shave and get dressed and hit the road again. So I was pushed for time. So I stopped at a restaurant to pick me up a little bit of a meal to take home and eat. And guys, I did not know people had got so lazy now that they can't get out of their auto, park their car, get out of their automobile and go in a restaurant and place their order and, wait on their meal and go back to their car once they get it and pay for it and go back to their car and come home or whatever they're going to do. I didn't know people had got that lazy now. Guys, when I pulled up to the place, I thought, is the doors locked? I mean, guys, there was a line from the highway all the way around to the drive-through window on the other side. I beat all ever seen. So I parked my truck. I got out, went up to the door, didn't say anything about, their dining room was closed. But nothing was said about, you couldn't come in and place your order. So I come in. Went on in, I placed my order, no problem. Went, stood over there in the waiting line and waited till my meal was prepared. And once it was prepared, I got my stuff together. I'd paid for it, and out the door I went. Guys, the whole transaction it was way less than 10 minutes. I didn't time it, but the thing is, when I went back out, the same people that was sitting in their car in the line was still sitting there in the time it took me to get out of my vehicle and go get my stuff and come back. I mean, how lazy have people become now? And, anyway, I don't know why I got off on that, but I just thought I'd throw that in there. I just thought, guys, I'm looking today. Our world in the past 5 months, whatever, has changed dramatically. Really beyond, it actually can go back beyond that, but I'm just saying, I just cannot believe what's going on. I can't believe how stupid people are, and I can't believe how lazy people have become. But I look today, And I see, there's things coming up the tracks, shortages, things we may have to do without, things we may be rationed on. Who knows? I mean, who knows what the future holds anymore? And people don't know how to do without things. And I think back about my daddy and my grandpa, both of them. Uh, I've seen them, and when I was real young, we didn't have a shop that we actually worked in. We had an old barn, and my grandpa would build a workbench in there and put him a little grinder in there, and he had made that out of an old Ringer washing machine motor, and mounted a pulley on it and put a little mandrel on one end, had him two grinding wheels on there, and he made him a grinder. And we used that for several years. And, little hand drill and hacksaw, and that's about, the extent that our shop was when I was growing up. But I've seen my granddad and my daddy both go out there and guys take nothing and actually build something, a piece of metal or something, and make a little frame or make a little brace or something to go on a plow or an implement or a lawnmower or something to patch it up to get by. I mean, we weren't rich. Well, I wouldn't call us poor either, but we knew how to take what we had and make it go. And, we've got a generation now does not know how to do that. I guess I'm a little bit like that. I don't throw stuff away. I should be throwing a lot, and there is some stuff I've got to go through, guys, and clean out around here. But I keep, like pieces of scrap metal or something like that around, because you never know, you might find a need for it up the road. It might get you out of a bind. I mean, it's just like if I replace something on my mower or my tractor or, something like that. If I replace a part and the part is still semi-usable, I'll say I'm going to hold on to that, just like a belt, for instance. Uh, I changed my belt out on my mower. I'll save the old one. I say this is still working, and if it's on a Saturday afternoon and I'm mowing and the belt breaks, you know what? I've got this one that I can fall back on just in case. And I mean, I've just been that way. Maybe y'all are not like that. Now here we have a severe water problem, and our water heater will go through water elements like crazy. And usually when it starts that, it's getting about time to change the heater out. So, but I try to keep a spare water heater element on hand. But if I know somebody that's changing their heater out and their elements are good in it, hey, I say, if you're gonna take that to the dump, can I have the thermostats and the elements out of it? I don't know how many thermostats I've probably got in my building down there put back. But the elements I'll use. And, if they don't want them. And I mean, guys, it's just things like that, simple things. And I mean, I'm just sitting here right now. I'm looking, we talk about repurposing stuff. The little berry baskets that we have at the farm, where I'm working, that they put strawberries in. For whatever reason, they cannot reuse them. The state won't let them. They have to sell the basket, the berry, and all. And, they'll take them back, but there's nothing we can do with them. And so, I'm just sitting here. If there's one sitting right there in my swing where I had bought a basket of berries the other week, and it's sitting there empty. And I'm thinking to myself, that's something that I could use for something up the road. That would be perfect to pick blueberries in. So that may be what gets put in it later on. So, but anyway, I'm just thinking about that. People don't know how to do without stuff no more. And it's just like when you might have a tight week where you're not able to go to the store and like buy milk, or say if you're needing eggs or butter or oil or something like that, what you might call a staple item. People don't know how to make it. Well, I want to tell you a secret there. My grandmother that I've been staying with to this day, now she grew up during the Depression. She was born in 1932, and of all my grandparents, she's the youngest. Uh, my grandparents on my dad's side, he was born in 1905. My grandmother was born in 1908. So they were, further behind. They knew what the Depression was. And but my granddad and my grandmother on my mother's side, they were born of a later time. And but they still knew what it was to go through some hard times. And they knew what the sacrifice was during World War II as well. And they knew all about that. But I she has a habit when she makes biscuits. She uses water versus milk and flour. Now she will use buttermilk, but she won't use her full amount of liquid won't be buttermilk. She'll also add water to it. Why? To stretch that buttermilk out. That's why. And we call them water biscuits and water gravy, but I want to tell you something. If you're hungry, it'll go a long way. And I've heard her talk, I mean, even just recently, we were talking about biscuits and gravy one morning, and she said that's what her youngins lived off when they were growing up. She said she'd get up and make biscuits and gravy, said they didn't have meat every morning, and said sometimes they would make egg gravy, and I don't even want to know what that is because it just don't even sound appealing to me. But I've heard her speak of that, and other things too. But I mean, it was a simple meal, but yet it sustained them. And that's what you call getting by and doing without certain things, and you can still do it. I was talking to someone at work today, and uh, I mentioned the one evening this week. Uh, I came home, not yesterday, I think it was the day before yesterday. I came home, I was hungry, and I called my son and I told him, I said, can you make me a cake of cornbread if I tell you how? I said, it's easy. And he said, yeah, I'll make it. So I told him my method and told him what I did. And by the time I got home, guys, that cake of cornbread was ready to come out of the oven. And I opened up a jar of those field peas that I'd canned back last summer and warmed those up. And I had some onion in there that I cut up, put that over them. And we have the greenhouse tomatoes where I work. And I had got one of those from work, and I diced it up. I didn't slice it up, I diced it up. And I put that over those, had onion and tomatoes over those peas, and and that cornbread. Guys, I'm telling you, that's good eating right there. I mean, it's just simple, and people today, they don't know how to do that. But I was telling somebody at work about that, and they turn their nose up to it. Well, I'm not turning my nose up. That's country eating. And I've eat that a many times, just peas and cornbread. And that's the thing about it. Everybody today wants it right out of the store. They're spoiled with all, this is something else I remember. An older person, I can't remember who it was that I was talking to. We were talking about things, and they was talking about when you eat a meal, don't so much put stock in the taste. Now you want your stuff to taste good. You don't want it to taste foul. But people have become so hooked on certain seasonings and all kinds of other things, additives that's been put, in things now, to where they feel like if they don't have that they can't eat. In other words, it's not fulfilling the desire that they have. I think about the children of Israel uh, when they were in the wilderness, and they were getting sick of the manna, if y'all remember that. And they were wanting the garlic and the leeks and the cucumbers, if I remember right. And what that did, that that putting those things together, it created a fullness in their system. Guys, I've had to deal with that. Now, I've lost weight, guys. When I get out here and y'all can see me work, you can see me in a distance from this camera. I have lost some weight. And the last time I checked, I think I've lost about 10 pounds. And I give God the glory for that. But I have sweated a lot of that off working in those greenhouses. Well, technically, they are high tunnels. Now, we do our planting in a greenhouse, but where I'm at, I'm actually working in a high tunnel. So, and there is a difference. But since working in there and doing a lot of sweating now, I have lost some weight. And plus, of course, I'm just as active as I always was, but I just have more more things to do now. But that putting something in your system that gives you a feeling of fullness, that was what the children of Israel will want. And that's what we have to be careful of and check ourselves on. When we eat a meal, is it because of the taste or is it because it's nutritious for us? I mean, you think about that. And, I think about a lot of things, just like grits. Uh, some of you folks that watch me or maybe from up north, y'all probably don't eat grits. But around here down south, we love our grits. I don't eat them as often as I used to because I'm trying to watch my carb intake. And they have some carbs to them. I've tried to stick with oatmeal, uh, eat a little more healthier myself. But anyway, the grits by themselves, even oatmeal by itself, if I can find it, I like to have a little fruit, maybe banana or right now, strawberries. Next month I love blueberries and honey, and I'll have fresh blueberries to go in my oatmeal. And if I can find fresh honey, that's good too. But, that helps take the bland taste out of oatmeal. And grits is the same way. I'm going to tell you how I love grits. Either milk gravy or red eye gravy. And guys, if y'all have never had real red eye gravy, you've never eat country ham like I have. Oh man, how I'm on food today. You take your homegrown tomato, slice that thing up, and put you a spoonful. I don't care if it's the milk gravy, flour gravy, whatever you want to call it, or put you some red eye gravy on that thing. I'm telling you, that's good eating. Maybe I'll do a video someday showing y'all how to make red eye gravy for you poor people that does not know how and don't know what it is. Maybe I can do a video on that someday. I'm waiting to see if I get requests to show that. If you don't know what that is, bless your heart, you don't know what you're missing. I got to find some decent country ham first, though, because you got to have country ham to make that. But that's just things that we, I guess, Southerners, we learn to do to make our meals more appetizing, I guess. But the sad part of it is today, guys, most people have no idea how to sit down and make a good meal from simple ingredients, simple things. Now, I've discovered something here just the past few months. I canned some squash last year. Of course, I've always canned squash, but I tried something a little different this year. Took and drained those squash, drained the water off of them, put them in a bowl, kind of cut them up just a little bit, add a little minced onion in there, and put you some cornmeal to it. Mix it up just like if you were making cornbread or something. But fry those up in patties. Guys, that is delicious. You don't need no milk, no egg, no nothing. Just that. I mean, I thought, man, I've discovered something here. The squash itself actually worked as a bonding agent to hold that patty together. I fried it up in some hot grease, Man, I eat that with a bowl of pinto beans and some onion. I'm telling you right now, guys, that'll take you to the promised land. I mean, you will literally think you died and gone to heaven. You eat something like that. I mean, I'm just talking simple stuff here, and people can't do that today. They've got to have their filet mignon, they've got to have their fancy meals and all this, and I feel sorry for them because I don't have to have that. That means absolutely. Don't get me wrong, I love a good, nice steak once in a while, but with what I'm seeing regarding our meat, we may have to learn to go stick with wild game and what have you in the coming day. Who knows? I mean, there's some things going on there. I'm not going to walk into that one, but there's a lot of stuff coming down the tracks on that. If you've not been reading up on that, you need to study that and listen to what some of these other folks are talking about regarding that. But you know, you got to get creative. You got to think outside the box. And one thing that I've been trying to do here, I mean, just here at our place, it's not a very big place, but, you know, I've heard other people talk about it. I want my permaculture, I want food growing just like that cherry tree, the peach tree that I planted back last winter. It's over here behind me. I've got the blueberry bushes, I got blackberry bushes, or vines, canes. I've got a fig bush down there. I've got a persimmon tree down there. I mean, I've got food growing all around me. And, you know, one thing I would love to have, but I don't think I've got the room for it, would be a pecan tree or walnut tree, you know, something like that. You know, they do good around here. And we've got big ones down at my mother and dad's, but, you know, I just don't have it here. But we'll see what the Lord will allow in the days ahead. So, anyway, guys, I've been a little longer today than normal. And but think about that. Do you know how to function and do without certain things and keep right on going? Make what you have. Make do with what you have. Do you have it in you? Because I think the days ahead we're gonna experience that a lot more than we probably have in a long, long, long time. And for people my age, my generation knows nothing of that really. Uh, there's a sparse few people, maybe grew up in tight times, grew up in, you know, uh, lower income conditions, you know, probably know a little something about it. And I'm thankful. I'm thankful for those. They wasn't easy times to go with. And as times, you know, as time goes on, you look back at those times and time itself will take the sharp edges off of those times, those tough times. But I'm thankful for those days. I really am. And because the experiences that I went through, things that I learned, it's just like I'm going through a tough time right now. But I give God the glory. I give him the thanks because God's doing something for me. And I know, you know, I believe it's Peter talked about the trial of our faith being much more precious than gold. And when we come through it, I can't quote this verbatim like I should, but knowing this, that the trial of our faith being much more precious than gold, when it's just like putting gold through a refiner's fire. When we come out on the other side, we're going to be teetotally a different human being if we'll allow God to change us and mold us and make us what he wants us to be, guys. So I apologize, I'm being long today, but I know I hadn't been on in a while, so I hope I've said something that's maybe been a kind of do like the homesteading pastor, sit a spell and recollect of some days gone by, and I'm thankful for those days. So guys, I hope I said something today that's been a help to you, maybe encouraged you a little bit, and just keep praying for us here. Lord knows the need, and I know several of you have shared things that you've gone through recently. I know I've got emails from some of you guys, and I'm praying for you. I really am. You know who you are. And a lot of folks facing some really tough days right now. And I don't think we've seen nothing yet to what we're going to face in the future. So, anyway, guys, like our pastor said the other Sunday, we need to fortify ourselves and know where we stand with God, for one thing. And don't be afraid to learn. Don't be afraid to think outside the box, because that's what my grandfather did. That's what my dad done, and they made it. They made it by God's grace and God's help. That's what they'll tell you. They made it. He saw them through. So, guys, y'all have a great day, and until next time, thank you from Little NC Farmer.